everyone. My name is Chloe and welcome to another TGI Friend Day. So today we are here with one of my favorites. She is one of the first channels that I think I ever really discovered, and she reads everything and like from clean to dark, and she is the queen of live shows. She's the queen of book clubs. Like every going live is her jam, and it's so fun. And her laugh and her smile is the best. And I'm just going to story time real quick. One time she was saying that if she laughs too much, she gets a headache. And and she was saying something about like coughing or something. And so I meant to say, do you smoke? And I had text her and said, do you even smile? And she was like, yeah, I smile most of the time. I just get a headache if I laugh a lot. And I was like, of course, like, no, smoke. And because she just
I would talk about my smoker or my smoker's laugh because when I start laughing like really hard, I like start to wheeze and
yeah. And so I'm like, do you even smile?
yeah, I do.
Yeah, and she had the most like polite, sweet answer ever. And oh gosh, anyway. But all that to say, I really love this lady and I'm so excited to talk to her. So Nicole, introduce yourself.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited. Nicole, my channel name is Who Picked This Book. And yeah, like Chloe says, I really try to read a wide range of stuff. Just if it sounds like even remotely interesting or like the cover is gorgeous, I will give it a try. It's just nothing's really off limits for me. Like I'll try anything once kind of thing in my reading. So that has led me to some books, let me tell you.
Yeah. Well, and Nicole also, if you guys don't follow her, please do, because she has library tours of like, she has more books, I think, than anybody I know at all. And I think we met through like the Romance Foxer chat maybe. And so then I remember when we did the light versus dark readathon in May, I was like, Nicole's one that I don't know which way she'll go. And I think you went dark, but I mean, you're just that eclectic of a reader that you really will read like the super sweet, cushy stuff. And then also some of the darkest dark. So how did you get into reading in the first place?
Well, my first ever like memory of reading is not even me reading it. It was my dad reading to me.
Oh yeah.
He read from these, they're called like junior classics. And it was just basically like it's like a box set of just hardbound books. And it had like, like Aesop's fables, like things like that, like and so he would be reading, from those. And then, like I would get older and I'm like, I would remember this. And I'm like, where did those books ever go? And my mom's like, oh, I got rid of them. They were kind of like, we were moving, a couple of times when I was little. So they were really heavy. It's like a 10-volume set of like hardbound books. And so she's like, I got rid of them. You seem to like grow out of them, blah, blah, blah. And then like 2 years ago, I actually found a complete set at Goodwill. So I was like, yes.
Oh my goodness, how fun.
That was one of my more epic finds. I'm like, oh, I remember these books. And they were all like different colors and the spines were just how I remembered them. I was like, oh my gosh, this takes me back.
How awesome.
Yeah.
So now, so how'd you get into romance? And do you read any classics?
I read classics. How I got into romance is my mom was a little bit of a reader, not as big of a reader as I am, but she did have some books on her shelf, some Nora Roberts, some Danielle Steele. And so I saw those up there. And my first ever, purchasing romance for myself was Sandra Brown. I was like getting into high school. I started building this huge library you see behind me. And so it's like, when I started working, I was like, oh, I can, buy books and I don't have to borrow books from my mom. And the first book that I bought was Sandra Brown. And the first book I read by her was Words of Silk. And, it's very dated. It was written in like early 90s, late 80s. And, it's definitely, I reread it a couple of times, in recent years, and it's, very problematic, but I still love her to this day. I have all of her books. She's still releasing books. She's very, I love her romantic suspense stuff, but Nora Roberts, Danielle Steele is the first books I remember seeing.
Yeah. I feel like Danielle Steele is like the ultimate for our age group, like the ultimate mom book. Like
Yeah.
everybody's mom, if they read Danielle Steele, I feel like.
They read, yep, sure, for sure. I remember the first Danielle Steele book that I opened and was like kind of looking at it was Palomino. And I was like, oh, that's a horse. I like horses. And I was like, it's not about horses.
Not about a horse. That is not Black Beauty.
So funny. But yeah,
So funny.
I do read classics. I try to read, my favorite classic is obviously Pride and Prejudice. I have a copy over here actually that I just bought last night.
Oh, fun.
So yeah, that's one of my favorite classics. Also Persuasion. Jane Austen is just a favorite of mine. Tried to read a little bit more classics. I read the Barsoom series by Edgar Rice Burroughs. It's like a sci-fi. It was adapted into a movie a while ago. And then he also wrote the Tarzan books as well. I read the first book in that. I tried to read Dune, I think last year. It just didn't happen. It was so dry. And I'm just like, I'll just watch the movie, because I did watch that original movie when I was younger, because my dad liked that stuff. He liked the sci-fi, like Star Trek kind of thing. And so whatever he watched is what the family watched. So so I remember watching the old movie, and I'm like, oh, I remember some of this. And there were some parts where I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that in the movie, but I'm just like, I couldn't get past 50 pages of that book. Some classics are just it's like
they're tough. I don't. Yeah. How did you get into cozy mysteries? Because you also have a cozy mystery book club.
Yes. I followed someone, and they started another cozy mystery club. And so that's how I really, probably my first year on booktube, I want to say. So that's how I really started to get into cozies.
Okay.
I mean, I like romantic suspense. So there's that, that mystery and intrigue, but a little bit, obviously romance. Sure. Cozy mysteries, there's sometimes a romance element, but it's not like a romance, it doesn't end in an HEA for the couple. Sometimes they don't even get together until like 4 or 5 books into the series, which drives me nuts. Yeah. I'm just like, oh, the banter's there, but it's like the angst and like you're waiting for it. Yeah. But it's so yeah, that's how I really and then I never look back, and then Jen and I, when we do our lives for our book club on Wednesdays, we're trying to get through of all of Julianne Lindsay's backlist, and she writes under several pen names. So
it's a feat. It is a feat. Yeah.
We're getting there. And she's releasing 11 books this year, Julianne Lindsay. So she released, I think she released almost that much, if not more, last year. So she's churning them out.
Yeah. And you guys have had live shows with her too. I'll link some of them down below, because the live shows are on point.
She is just fantastic. She is a doll. She is so nice. She is probably one of the few authors that, really interact with her readers. Like, she comes to almost every single live show. If she's not, she's been in a couple live shows, but when it's just me and Jen, she will be in the live stream and she'll be chatting and everything. Yeah. And then, so there's a couple of groups that I'm with her on Facebook, and we chat on Facebook, and I'm just like, oh my God, I love you so much.
Yeah, I know. Does she live in your part of the country? Do you know?
She doesn't. She lives in Ohio.
Okay. Yeah.
So we're all like, when this pandemic is over, we really need to meet up. And I'm like, yes, I would love to.
That would be so fun. Yeah. When this pandemic is over.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, it seems never ending, honestly.
Yeah. So you read so much. What is your favorite? Like, if you are really needing like a comfort read, what kind of thing do you turn to?
Romantic suspense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll pick that. I like forced proximity. I like that, the only one bed trope, stuck in a mountain cabin. I love that. So honestly, one of my go-to books is Chill Factor. I've read that book probably like 10 times. And I was like, if I'm in a slump, if I'm just not feeling like a certain book that I'm reading, and I feel a slump coming on, and I'm like, no, I'll just go and pick up that book and just flip through it, and it's just it's so great. I love that book so much.
Yeah. So I think I've talked about this in a few other people's videos, but like, there are most of my friends, I have books or authors that I associate with them, and Sandra Brown is yours for sure. And Julianne Lindsay, both of them. I'm like, if I have any questions about those authors, I know where to go. but
Me.
yeah. What are some of your least favorite tropes of like things that you're like, if that's in there, I'm not gonna like it?
I typically shy away from beta heroes or the cinnamon roll heroes.
Oh, really?
Sometimes, yeah, I love me some alpha heroes, but
Yeah.
sometimes like there are exceptions to the rule. Like I love Archer's voice, Archer
Uh-huh.
Hale. He is like the ultimate beta cinnamon roll hero. He's just like you just want to wrap him like in a hug, you know,
Yeah.
and but typically I go for the alpha heroes. Which is probably why I'm so drawn to like shifter romances, paranormal romances as
Right.
well, because that's probably a little bit more prevalent than the
Yeah.
beta heroes, the alpha
Yeah.
heroes, the female mage trope. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. What do you wish there was more of in the book world? Or do you feel like it's pretty well covered?
What do I wish there was more of? I don't know. I feel like if they're, especially in romance, I feel like the romance genre is so huge. It's so
Mhm.
broad. If you, I probably have quoted this documentary 17,000 times, but there's a documentary. It's called Love Between the Covers. It's on Netflix. If you haven't watched it, it's so good. And there's something that they say, and it just says, if you like a certain kind of tea, someone is pouring it for you in the romance genre. So if you like alpha heroes, if you like beta heroes, if you like a certain kind of trope, you literally just Google search it and a romance will come up for you.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's so huge, the romance industry.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the things that I really love about, romance. I was talking to on my live streams, her name is Bianca. She's a member of my book club that we have on Wednesdays.
Mhm.
And she was like, has anybody read a vampire samurai book? And I was like, that's oddly specific. And she
Yeah.
Google searched it and she found something. That's
She,
how like it's
yeah.
like
Yeah.
seriously. If you
Yeah.
want to read something in the romance genre, just Google search it. It's there. I promise you.
Yeah. So who are some authors that you feel like do romantic suspense well? Because like I feel like there's some big names. I mean, like Nora Roberts, Sandra Brown, these people that are incredibly prolific and do it really, really well. But then I feel like a lot of other times it's really hard to get muddled. Like it's either really strong in the romance or really strong in the suspense. And
Yeah.
like the sweet spot of doing those together, I feel like is really hard to do.
Yeah, for sure. Julianne Lindsay, she writes for romantic suspense for the Harlequin intrigue line. She
Yep.
does that very well. And also, they're not as, if you don't like the sex on page,
Mhm.
the intrigue line obviously is quote unquote clean, even though I don't really
Mhm.
like that term
Yeah.
for romance. But so yeah, there's no really graphic sex on page. If you would like romantic suspense or you like murder mysteries or like that intrigue or things like that, but not necessarily from romance because you don't want to read like the graphic on page stuff,
Yeah.
try the Harlequin intrigue line because it's really very good. Julianne Lindsay, she's amazing. She's written a few series. Garrett Valor, Fortress Defense. She's releasing a new series this year called Heartland Heroes. But yeah, Sandra Brown's really good. She's releasing a new book this year called Blind Tiger in August. Nora Roberts, the In Debt series by JD Robb is phenomenal. I love it so much. And I haven't read, but Beverly Jenkins, I've read just basically her historical romances, but she has romantic suspense as well. I haven't read, but honestly, I know I'm going to love it because she writes phenomenally. So I just know I'm going to love Beverly
Yeah.
Jenkins romantic suspense. And I'm like, the first one she ever wrote it's called The Edge of Midnight. It's over there somewhere, but I'm reading that this month, so I will know eventually. But I have a feeling I'm gonna love it.
Check back. So with all those books on your shelf, how do you do TBRs? Or do you?
The only time I really do a TBR is if I'm doing a readathon, and it seems like I'm always doing a readathon.
Yeah, there's so many. And like the FOMO is hard. Like I do a lot too.
Yeah, it honestly, like the bane of making a TBR is that as soon as I put a book on a TBR, I no longer want to read it. It is like I'm like, oh yeah, I've been needing to get to this book. I'm gonna put it on a TBR and I'll read it. And then as soon as I do that, I'm just like, I
Yep.
have this Madison Faye book over here. It's
Yep.
so bad. It's so bad. But yeah, that's really the only time I make TBRs is when I'm doing a readathon. And I love in readathons if there's bingo boards or if there's prompts, because I will literally just, I'll Google search that prompt or Google search, whatever it needs, and I'll pull up a list And I typically try to read books that are on my physical unread because I want to get through that. It's a big number and it's terrible.
Yeah.
But so I'll look through a list because Goodreads has a lot of lists, you go through that and I'm like, oh, I have that book, so I'll write it down. Oh, I have that book, I'll write it down. Okay. So that's how I kind of create a TBR for myself.
Sure.
And like I have the Book Buddy app, which is basically you just scan the barcode of the book and it creates, a digital record of your library. So I don't have to look through my shelves to see if I have a book. I'll just look through this app and I'm like, yep, I have that. So
yeah, that was my next question is how do you have a list somewhere of all of your books? You do?
I do. Yes. I used to handwrite it out when I first got started. I was like handwriting every single, book that I got. And then when I got to when I started collecting a lot of Sandra Brown, I made a Sandra Brown page and I just wrote I would just put in the book that, I got. And then I started branching out and doing more genres. So I was like, here's the romantic suspense. Here's this, historical or whatever. And then it got too much to be writing out. I filled a notebook and then I'm like, okay, I'll type it out. And that was an endeavor, typing out a notebook onto a Word document. Yeah. So I did that. I printed it out. It was in a 3-ring binder. Yeah. I would just, have that. And then I discovered Book Buddy and it was glorious. Yes. But it was an endeavor
to get them all logged.
Because when I first got it, it didn't have a really good scan option. You would scan the barcode, especially older books.
Yeah.
You scan barcodes and they'd be like, oh, not found. So you'd have to search for it online or manually input it in. Mm-hmm. So sometimes that would take a long time, but it's been updated quite a bit, good. Since it was, released. And the scan option is phenomenal. There's probably one time out of 10 books where I don't get, and it's typically older books just because the barcode is, but yeah, it's a great app. I really, really love it. And it's phenomenal.
I should, in fact, I think I have it, but I've never done that because Goodreads we don't need to get into the terrible parts of Goodreads because we could be here for hours, but I have tried to do that on Goodreads and I just get frustrated because of all of the different editions don't count. And so annoying. So then I just jump ship and quit the process, but because that would be helpful. But
yeah, I love it. I love it so much. Especially helps because I'm an avid book collector. So when I go to Goodwill or go to used bookstores and I'm like, my memory is not great anyway. There's no way I can remember all of the books that I have in these shelves. So I'm looking through. There's obviously some I remember. There's some I'm like, oh yeah, I definitely have that. But it's so nice when I'm looking through the books and I'm like, okay, do I have that book or do I want that book? Because you can create a wish list on the Book Buddy app as well. So you can go through and it's yes, I'm looking for that book and then move over to the physical library. Fantastic. It's so great. It's so user friendly. I tell everybody about it. I told Shoshana from Shoshana Reads, I think that's her channel name. And she's like, I love it so much.
Yeah. If you just take the time to get it set up, it sounds perfect.
Yeah, it took a while, but there was a time where these shelves weren't on this wall, and then my husband put them on, and when I was kind of rearranging things, I just kind of went through and added what I didn't have, and it was a great opportunity to do that when I was just throwing them up on the shelves anyway. So, and I was also filming, the tour. I was all the books that I have, and
so that took forever. How do you organize your books?
I organize, this is my romance and cozy mystery room. So I have, yes. So basically all of this is romance except for this shelf down. Okay. So all of it is romance and it's double stacked. So it's double on the shelf and then it's stacked tall, except for the bigger books, but cause I need optimum space use.
Right.
But yeah, so this is, and I organize by alphabetically by author.
Okay. And read and unread are all mixed up?
Read and unread are all mixed in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I love hearing people's different strategies for doing it, but yeah.
Yeah, I try to do, my dad's like, do the Dewey Decimal System. I was like, do you hate me? Because that, it's I'm not doing that.
No.
But then I try to, I really love when people have rainbow shelves. I'm like, that's so freaking cute. But I was like, it's impossible. It's impossible. I can't do it. And because it really upsets me when authors aren't together, and then also series aren't together. Like, obviously, like books in a series, if they're different colors in the rainbow and they're like on opposite ends, I was like, this is driving me nuts.
No, I could not do that at all.
So I appreciate it. Like, looking at it, it's very beautiful. I love everybody's rainbow shelves, but I personally cannot do it.
And I would have no idea how to find anything.
No idea.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
But
so
like, I think
I'm looking for, so it's like, if I'm looking for Nora Roberts, I know R is over there, you know? So it's like, I know kind of where it's at. It's alphabetical. It's easy to find. So in this room, it's just romance and cozy mystery. In my spare bedroom, I have more shelves, and that is, I have a bigger shelf, almost like the size of this one. That's YA, children's, and middle grade. That's all on one. And then I have a shelf that's basically like everything else. It's, you know, just general fiction, whether it be historical fiction, fantasy, horror, thriller. If it's not romance, it's in there.
Okay.
So, kind of how I did everything.
Yeah, I want to come to your house someday.
Oh gosh, yes.
Walk around and be in awe.
And my husband built these shelves for me. He's, you know, fantastic. They're gorgeous. I love them. And he comes in here and he was like, oh yeah, they're okay, you know, for my first time or whatever. I was like, they're stunning. Shut up.
Perfect. Yes.
All
now,
he sees is the little, you know, little errors that he did, all the nicks and dings. And I was like, well, that makes them like original. Like, that's, you know, you built these with your two hands. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Gosh, you better hope you never move.
We can't. We're staying here.
You're locked in. So what were some of your favorite books of 2020? Like, wait, what year?
Oh. Okay. Favorite books of 2020. The Catalina Cove series by Brenda Jackson. I actually have, I just bought this novella. It's a Christmas novella, but of course I'm reading it.
Yep. That's pretty.
Right? It's
so pretty.
Yeah. I loved this series so much. I really love Brenda Jackson. I read Brenda Jackson for the first time last year, and I'm like, you're fantastic. I have to read your entire backlist. So
yeah, she is.
And I also found out that she partnered with someone to create a production company that's going to be adapting more Black romances into films, TV shows, things like that. And Catalina Cove is actually one of the series that they're adapting. And I'm like, oh my God, fantastic. Yeah. I'm so excited. When is this happening? I'll just wait here. I'll wait here for this because I love that series so much.
Yeah.
So much. It's so good.
Yeah. How many books is it? Do you know?
Book, that not including the novella, book number 4 is being released this year.
Okay. Yeah, because I read the first 1 or 2 and they are good. Yeah.
The second book is my favorite.
Okay.
That one was so good.
So good.
Touched my heart.
Yeah. What were some of your least favorites?
Least favorite. I think last year I tried to read Priory of the Orange Tree, which it's a big epic sapphic fantasy, and the cover is stunning. The cover is gorgeous. And I'm like, epic fantasy. I love fantasy. Let's read it. And then it was so slow. Yeah. Like this book it's not in here. It used to be in here.
It's big.
This book is almost 900 pages.
Yep.
And I mean, that's not incredibly daunting. I mean, it is compared to, you know, your typical romance, you know, this is another Brenda Jackson. Yeah. So, but I've read Outlander. Those books are huge. I've read A Song of Ice and Fire. Those books are huge. So it's like, I'm not scared of a big book. I'm scared of a big book. I have hair on my lips, sorry. I'm scared of a big book that is 200 pages. I get to page 200 and nothing has happened yet.
Yep.
That's what I'm scared of. And I'm like, oh my God. And it took me about 2 weeks to get to page 200.
Yeah. My sister and her husband, like buddy read that. And she had like a notebook that she was like trying to write notes about who was who. And she said, yeah, she was not into it.
It's just that, you know, when I'm used to finishing 300-page books like in a day, you know, for me to read 200 pages in 2 weeks, and it's just like
a slog.
I had to like force myself to pick up this book. I didn't even get to the good part. The good part is like when the romance obviously happens, you know, and I'm just like, I didn't even get to that part because it was just so slow.
Yeah.
I eventually want to try to reread it. Maybe the audiobook. I can just put it in, you know, like an 800-page book. I don't know how long the audiobook would be, but at 3 speed, I listen to books on 3 speed. So that really cuts down time. And I just, you know, if I'm, you know, driving, cleaning, laundry, you know, I'll just pop it in and, you know, hopefully get through it that way and actually start enjoying it, just getting to the romance and the intrigue. And when things actually start happening,
it's a challenge.
It was a brick of a book to get through. And I was like, and then I also read The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. It just wasn't as scary as, you know, I've read some horror in my time, and I was just like, I was expecting, you know, people were saying the show is very different and scary. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, still, it's based on this book. I'll give it a try. I read that with Deja over at Deja's Book World, and even she was just like, yeah, it wasn't really scary. And nothing really exciting happened in that book either until like the very end, where people were going crazy because of the entity or whatever that was in the house. So
interesting. But I haven't read it, but
it's not that long, but it just felt long because nothing really happened.
Yeah.
Nothing really exciting happened.
Yeah. Bummer. Well, are you ready for the rapid fire this or that?
Oh gosh, sure.
Ebook, audiobook, paperback, or hardback?
Paperback.
Buy or borrow?
Buy.
Quiet or background noise?
Quiet.
Indoor or outdoor?
Indoor.
If you guys don't know, she lives in Arizona, and we were just talking. It is February 6th, and she said it's like been in the low 80s lately. So yeah.
Yeah, because this week was like 82, 83 degrees. I'm like, no, I don't want it.
Yeah.
The groundhog saw a shadow. It's supposed to be 6 more weeks of winter.
Oh, I want it though.
Next day it was like 82 degrees. I'm like, this is not winter.
No, let's do a house swap for a week. Come on over. I'll come down. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
Meet your favorite author or meet your favorite character?
Meet my favorite author. I've done that, by the way.
Yeah. Wait, who?
Sandra Brown.
Okay. Really?
It was before the pandemic. She was doing a book tour when she was releasing Tailspin. Yeah, Tailspin. And went to a mystery themed bookshop in Scottsdale, and she was there, and she just answered lots of questions and did like an interview, and she met everybody. We took pictures. She signed books. She is the nicest lady. She is so nice. She's like a Southern belle, you know. And when I finally got up to meet her, like to talk to her, all I could say was thank you. I said it like 17 times. I was like, she's probably thinking I'm so nuts. Just like thank you. And I'm like, my husband's just recording, taking pictures. He was so good. He was like, as soon as I got up to her, he'd like record picture.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so let me just tell you really quick that this will come out afterwards. So we are going to be talking with Brittany C. Cherry next week. And I legitimately cried because I was talking to her on Instagram and she said she would. And I legitimately cried. And I'm like terrified because I am going to blubber. And like you just saying thank you, I think I'll just be like, hi, I love you.
Yeah.
I have a lot of questions, but I can't ask. I'm just going to say, hi, I love you. You're nice.
As we were leaving, my husband's like, well, why didn't you tell her like you read all of her books or what your favorite book was? And I was like, I literally couldn't talk. Just standing in her bed.
It's just like, I don't know if you saw the beginning of the Jill Shalvis interview that we did. I was just so red and like still was like, hi.
And Julie and Lindsay, of course, like we've been on a couple of live streams with her. Like I haven't met her face to face, but I still like, via, StreamYard. I'm just like, hi, how are you?
It's just so
we talk now, but it's like, I know as soon as like I meet her face to face, I'm just like, oh my God, it's you.
Yeah. Well, like you feel like you know them a little bit when you read so much of their stuff. And like Brittany C. Cherry puts author's notes in some of her books too. And so it's like when you really feel like you get to know them. And so then when you meet them, it's like that weird, creepy dynamic of like, I know you way better than you know me, but then also just like, you're just so great. And you have touched my life in many ways and you don't even know.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, so I don't even know where we were. Um,
Meet your favorite author or meet your favorite
yes,
character.
okay. Classics or new releases?
New releases.
Backlist or new releases?
Backlist.
No new books or no rereading?
No rereading. I have to get new books. I have to.
Yeah. This one is like the hardest for me, kind of, but I'm like, okay, wait, do they mean no new books, like no new releases? Like I can only buy used? Because if that were the
Oh,
case, then
if that was,
I'm cool. I don't need new books. I can just subsist on backlist, but
if I
I'll
could
see
buy
my
used
Nicole.
books, yeah, if I could buy used books, because I hardly buy brand new unless it's like a really like anticipated release. Like I've been looking forward to this book, or it's an author that I really love, like Sarah J. Maas. I'm gonna buy that book. Those are the kind of books, like I have authors that I automatically, no matter what they put out, I will buy. I have those
Yeah.
authors and I will buy as soon as they release those books. But also the most majority of my shopping is used books.
Yeah.
I hardly buy new books.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and
but
even
still
if I
buy
do,
books still.
yes. Yeah. But even if I do buy them brand new, it's rare that I read them like immediately. So I could
That's
try. Yeah.
true.
No standalones or series,
Series,
solo or book club.
book club.
I would hope.
It's like I
And
hate
then
all my book clubs that I'm
yeah,
in.
yeah. Coffee or tea?
Coffee, even though I'm
Really?
drinking tea right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure you're drinking tea as we speak. Coffee.
Yeah, coffee.
What's your Starbucks order?
Dirty chai tea latte.
Ooh, that sounds so good right now.
What I really love when the pumpkin season is around, I get the dirty chai with the pumpkin cold foam.
Ooh,
So
fancy.
good. So good.
Fancy. So it is currently snowing outside, and my children both, like, if I leave the room, they both burst into tears. And so Jeremy is like, okay, we're putting them in the car. We're going to the recycling center. We're doing this. And so he got him in the car and he's got him out. And I really want to text him right now and be like, hey, can you bring me a dirty chai? That sounds so good. So,
Yes.
what's your favorite reading snack or just snack in general?
Reading snack, I really love like a salty snack.
Mm,
So like chips. Chips are my weakness. Salt and
really?
vinegar chips. I'm not really like a sweet type of person. There's a time where like I do want something sweet, but I'm mostly a salty snack. I love doing like pepperoni and cheese and crackers.
Yeah.
Love that.
What a shoot charcuterie.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bored, I just make like,
Right,
your
right.
little
Clearly, it's too bougie for.
lunchable for adults.
Yeah. Oh, geez. Well, that is everything I've got. So thank you for chatting. I feel like we could have chatted way more, but try to keep it reasonable. But
Yeah, exactly.
thank you. If you guys have not checked out Nicole, please do. Who picked this book on everything, aren't you?
Yeah, YouTube, Goodreads, Twitter, Instagram. Yeah.
Yep.
You can
So
find
she
me.
will be linked down below. Please go check her out. And I hope you all have a wonderful weekend or day or whatever. Bye.
Thank you so much for inviting
Thank
me.
you.
Bye.
Bye.